bodies, and we operate at very minute but detectable power levels. And when we are exposed to low-power cell phones and wireless frequencies, our bodies entrain with those signals and get all screwed up. And by screwed up, I mean that our cellular function breaks down, and cells don't take in nutrients, and even worse, they don't excrete waste, they don't talk to each other, they miscommunicate. So there are plenty of studies showing that the low-power effects can be even worse than the high-power effects. And in terms of belief or not belief of cell phone hazards, I, for one, don't go with belief. I go with facts and documentation. And I can point to, as I do in my book, to between 1,200 and as many as 2,000 studies. That's a pile of studies.
That's a lot. Showing
that, in fact, electromagnetic radiation from cell phones, portable phones, wireless, is indeed hazardous to the human body and brain. And the word that we're using tonight over and over again, and deliberately, is the word radiation. And we're finding, the scientific community has found that cell phone wireless radiation has the exact same effect on cells and DNA as nuclear radiation. In fact, the micronuclei of fragmented DNA are the markers used to find the victims of Chernobyl, and they're the same markers used to find the victims of cell phone radiation. They are exactly the same.
What do we know from the world of neurology about tumors in the brain based on cell phones? Are neurosurgeons saying anything about this?
They are, actually. They're quite alarmed because they're literally on the front lines of this, not research. They're making the operations. If we check in with Dr. Keith Black, he's one of America's foremost neurosurgeons. George, you might have caught him on Larry King in 2008 when he told Larry King and the national audience that anyone exposed to over 2,000 hours of cell phone use, that's an hour a day for 10 years, or much less time if people use them more, like executives, those folks can expect a 370% increase in the risk of developing brain cancer. That's from your foremost neurosurgeon on national television. So yes, they're concerned. The big takeaway item tonight is Dr. Leif Salford in Sweden, and this has been confirmed in Finland and the United States, has proven that cell phones open the blood-brain barrier within 2 minutes. Using a cell phone or portable phone for 2 minutes interferes with the electrical conductivity that keeps the blood-brain barrier closed to proteins in our blood, proteins that don't do any harm to our body, that are useful to our body. But once they get into our brains through the blood-brain barrier, these proteins clump in recognizable formations that are seen with Alzheimer's patients, dementia patients, linked to fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, and Parkinson's disease. 2-minute warning here, folks. 2-minute warning.
I wonder if somebody like Michael J. Fox overused a cell phone. I wonder.
Well, it looks like that, in fact, happened, according to his physician.
Really?
Yes, very much so. We're finding that the rates of brain tumors among financial executives are extremely high, and it's being increasingly attributed, so far anecdotally.
Well, and they live on their cell phones.
They live on them. And I quote a guy in the article I posted for the Tonight Show, an executive at a bank. A banker said he knows 4 or 5 people in his firm that have tumors. That's a very high percentage. So, yes, the neurologists are very concerned. In my ebook, by the way, George, I've got little audio clips, very interesting, by some of the top researchers in the field. And one of them, as a matter of fact, is by a neurosurgeon who is very concerned at the rates of cancers, brain cancers he's seen and operating on, and extremely concerned by his young teenage daughter's insistence on using a cell phone.
Let's go next to Queens, New York. Howard's with us east of the Rockies. Howard, thanks for calling.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if we have enough time, but I'm an electrical engineer. I do not work for a cell phone company. I happen to be an amateur just like Art Bell, and I totally disagree with this gentleman in the way he's putting it. I like to know, you're calling this radiation?
Yes, absolutely.
It's not radiation. Radiation is ionizing radiation, where you're beyond the X-rays, and if you understand physics, it's H nu, which is the H Planck's constant to the minus 27 Earth. That's a mathematical term. We're talking about radio transmission. And if you're saying that cell phones, yes, if you have a cell phone in your head for 5 hours straight, it may be a problem. But what you're saying is, then you might as well say listening to the radio is dangerous because you're listening to your near electronic equipment. You walk outside, the sun actually would give you more electrical fields than cell phone towers.
Go ahead.
So
let's let you react to it.
Any of the people who you're quoting, the people in this field, are they electrical engineers? No. Okay, doctors understand the chemistry, but using Wi-Fi equipment that only puts out a couple of microwatts, the lower the power, the less of a problem, because you don't have heating effect. And the Federal Communications, along with ANSI, which is the standards, tell you how many microwatts of energy and the heating effect, which is 1.6 degrees centigrade.
Well, Howard, let me tell you, though, we are reacting to a study that the medical profession has just concluded. Though they have not come up with the conclusion that it's dangerous, they do say they're seeing anomalies on the side of the head where the phone is being held. So it's got to have some kind of effect on them.
Bankers, they have other situations. You have to look. You can't look at your cell phone because there may be other carcinogen things that are affecting them. The pressure, the stress, the kind of diet they eat. I mean, would you want to be in the financial world with what's going on? It is very hard to do that. And by saying to the public that every cell phone, every wireless piece of equipment in your house is dangerous, I think is false. And you're just trying to sell a book, because the power that comes out of a Wi-Fi system is a couple of milliwatts. And as you back away from a piece of equipment, it drops off by the square of the distance.
Okay, what's amazing to me, though, Howard and Will, is I've had a number of guests on who are medical folks who aren't selling anything, who say that there's danger out there with this. But, Will, I'll let you react before we take one or two more calls.
Thank you. I appreciate Howard's comments very much, and he really puts his finger on a major problem with our cell phone so-called safety regulations. The standard absorption rate he was referring to is based solely on ionizing, and that's what he was talking about, the heat effects, which are negligible in terms of actually burning skin, burning flesh. Absolutely 100% correct. The problem is we the researchers, medical community, the journalists covering this, we are very concerned with non-ionizing radiation. To say that cell phones are safe because they don't burn you is like saying cigarette smoking is safe if you don't burn yourself. It's the non-ionizing effects that are the focus of more and more studies and alarm, particularly in Europe. And I will reiterate, this radiation is extremely dangerous at millions of a Tesla. I mean, at very small power levels, no question. I'm referring to the Bioinitiative Working Group, and I would suggest Howard, other listeners, Google Bioinitiative and check through this study. They looked at something like 2,000 studies and collated this information, and they said that this is a serious problem. We are not being protected, and they are very concerned, particularly with the modulation involved in sending data wirelessly. It's not just the carrier wave, the so-called the radiation I've been mentioning tonight. It's the modulation of these frequencies to carry text, photograph, video, things like that. The more data, they said, the worse the health effects of this non-ionizing radiation. And finally, just let me jump in here, some things that I just found tonight for the show. We won't go deeply into it, but the actual heating effects of cell phones do cause heat shock proteins to build up in the blood and in tissues, and these heat shock proteins can be precursors to cancer. So the heating effect, even though it doesn't burn the skin, is not negligible. The non-heating effect is even worse.
Let's go to Laura in Cleveland, Ohio. We'll squeeze you in here, Laura. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
I'm very carefully trying to hold my cell phone a few inches away from my head.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thank you for your work. You know, it's really disturbing hearing these people who are saying things like, you know, golly gee whiz, the government wouldn't let them, sell them if they were not good for us. Go on YouTube. There's some people who are putting on different YouTube videos where they, one in particular, the man puts a bottle of water in the middle of 6 cell phones, and he has them, around the water pointing at each other. Then he pushes the button and initiates calls in all 6 phones. Within a few seconds, the water in the bottle starts bubbling and boiling.
And it wasn't. It was not a trick. It was not a trick, was it?
No, and there's other people who are like, boiling eggs, making hard-boiled eggs with cell phones, and,
Will, let me ask you, do you do that? We're almost out of time. Can you do that with a cell phone?
I'm not sure you can. I'm not sure you can pop popcorn. I've seen the videos. What you can do is use a cell phone. Please don't, but if you must, check out the headache that you get. That headache is an obvious indicator of a biological change in your brain. That headache means that your blood-brain barrier has been compromised. And as Dr. Keith Black, we were talking about him on Larry King, he said, quote, headaches, one of the most common presenting symptoms of brain tumors. So, yeah, enjoy the videos, but watch the headaches. That's real biology.
Migraines?
Yes.
Migraines, huh?
Just any kind of headache involved with cell phone and portable phone. We keep coming back to portable phone use as well.
Well, here's a little experiment for people, Will. Those people who suffer from migraines, stay away from the cell phones for a while. See if the migraines go away.
Yes, and the wireless router and the wireless devices. And please, 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 if you're a pregnant woman, you understand to avoid smoking and alcohol. Please be warned to avoid wireless radiation.
All right, stand by for our next Coast to Coast ride. We'll be right back.